Sensational ending at Old Trafford. How often have we seen that down the years? Manchester United scoring in, well, Carrick time now, we should call it. But what was different today, Jamie? It was a different kind of feel to the game, certainly.
Yeah, but it was just interesting when we spoke to Michael Carrick before the game about who was coming in for who. So Cunha was coming into the team, and we just expected him to sort of fill in on that left side and tuck in the left pocket. But as soon as the game started, you could see it was almost like a front three, but a very narrow front three. And in some ways, a throwback, would you believe, to Ruben Amorim when they had possession. Certainly when we look at the build-up to the penalty, I just wanted to look at the setup now when we look down, and you've got that back three here now building up. That's nothing new. You see lots of teams do that. You had your two midfield players here, and like lots of teams, can you get a front five against a back four? But it was interesting that it was one of them was your winger on that side in Ahmad, and Luke Shaw was the left back pushing on, if you like. But what really stood out was the front three, and they all interchanged. It's actually Mbeumo in this position here, Bruno Fernandes central, and Cunha on the right. But they continually just interchanged constantly, but they were all very close together, very tight together at all times. So there was a lot of that within the game, and that was something maybe a little bit different in this game because it was a home game, and maybe because it was against Fulham. And as I said, Cunha makes a really good run down the side, gets away from his man, and we've obviously seen the pull of the shit. Ends up being a penalty given, it's overturned, but then there's a free kick given for the initial pull outside of the box.
Yeah, just to clarify on that, because Marco Silva was really unhappy because he thought that the penalty had been given for the tackle, where John Brooks and VAR were saying that it was given for the pull, and the question was then, was it inside the area or outside the area? And because it's a factual decision, it was able to come back for a free kick just outside the area, which Manchester United made the most of.
Yes, and from that free kick, Casemiro scored another headed goal. I mean, the thing that really stands out for me with Casemiro in all his time at Manchester United, if you said to me what was his biggest strength, what was the biggest thing he brought to Manchester United, I would say a threat from set pieces. He's got a great goal record this season. I think he's scored a goal every season from a set piece. He's got a lot this season, but he's always, yes, he's always feels like he could score, or he could set something up, or he's dangerous, or the keeper makes a good save. He's, as I said, he's a huge threat.
Do you know, and a lot of people thought that Casemiro's time might well have been over in the Premier League and with Manchester United.
So he's been an absolute great. I am nowhere near on a level of what that man has achieved. Champions Leagues, playing for Brazil, playing for Real Madrid. But I always remember something when I retired myself. And there was a saying I always remember as a footballer: leave the football before the football leaves you. The football's left him. At this top level, he needs to call it a day at this level of football and move.
It was a beautiful moment of punditry, which I'm reminded of by Manchester United fans every time that Casemiro scores a goal or does something really good.
Well, so am I. As soon as he scored, he set a goal up. I thought my notifications will be off the scale.
But it's interesting because that was almost 2 years ago.
Yeah, and I think I think what Casemiro has done at Manchester United, and he's getting a great reception as he's leaving at the end of the season. He's done the perfect type of thing you want from a signing, in that his first season was fantastic, so everyone thinks, you know, he's a great player. Of course, he is a great player. And his last season, he's going out on a high. He's been fantastic this season, so he'll be remembered really well as well. I think the middle part of his time at Manchester United was a little bit of a struggle for him. But there's no doubt he's bounced back, and it is now fair to say the football has not left him, considering what he's producing this season in the Premier League. And not just Fulham at home. You think what he did last week against Arsenal away, Manchester City at home. So Casemiro is well within his rights to, if he wants to come back at me and say, leave the punditry before the punditry's left you, he could definitely get one of those back in. But listen, credit to him, he looks a completely different player.
I think you've got a bit left in you, mate. I think you've got a bit left in you.
I might have a little bit left in me. But he looks a different player physically as well. Even when I said that, you looked at him and he looked like an old man coming to the end of his time as a player. And whether he let himself go a little bit, or now he's been ultra professional, physically he looks completely different.
Just when you were being nice about it.
No, he does. He looks a different player.
But this is something else that he can bring to the game as well. The no-look pass.
Yeah, but again, just before, I want to just look at something as the ball comes into him, and it goes back to the first goal. I'll just stop it now again. And what you see again is, what have we got? There's your left back pushing on to make the front five. There's Ahmad, your winger, okay? And then there's your front three. Again, in different positions, okay? So this time Cunha's central, Bruno Fernandes is to the right. Again, so that was basically what Michael Carrick was trying to do right throughout this game. But the no-look pass is fantastic. But listen, it's a simple pass for the player, but it's the weight of the pass. If the weight of the pass is he underhits that slightly, the defender makes a tackle. If he overhits it, the angle is too tight to score a goal. So the thing about that was it's the weight of the pass. That is the special thing there. That rolls any further, it's too much of an angle to score a goal from there. And it's a brilliant strike from Cunha, who's starting to look the real deal.
Unbelievable finish, isn't it, from Cunha, who's quite wide of the goal as well. But that was not the end of the game, because Fulham got themselves right back into it. And you felt this was coming from Fulham in the second half, building attacks. And then they won this penalty, Jamie. I don't think there was too much doubt here. Harry Maguire wasn't sure. Everyone else seemed to be.
I think he was sure, but he was trying to get away with it. But listen, I think I spoke about this last week on Monday Night Football. These are the type of penalties that are getting given now that maybe weren't done in the past if somebody got the shot off. But this guy is the absolute best penalty-wise.
He seems to make his decision so late, Jamie.
I think he realises the goalkeeper's going to go the right way at the last minute, and he thinks, I've got to lift this and go for the top corner, because he knows the goalkeeper's read him and is going the right way.
Which is an incredible talent, and is probably why he is now out on his own as the highest scoring 100% penalty record in Premier League history. He's surpassed Yaya Toure. He's now scored all 12 that he has taken, and that's why I think a lot of people are expecting him to get Fulham back in the game there. But Fulham weren't done there. Pressure was building towards the end of the game, Jamie.
It was. Listen, it wasn't a great performance for Manchester United. It was a great result and the manner of it, but Fulham were really good in this game and definitely deserved to get something from the game. I think a draw would have been a fair result. But that was a fantastic goal. And it wasn't just the second half here. We've seen them score 2 goals in the second half. They had one, obviously, disallowed for a really tight offside. But even in the first half, they played some really good football. We
were watching this game together in here. And as soon as they equalised, you said, because they'd been defending quite a lot of that point, Manchester United, you said, watch this, Manchester United will go and attack now.
Yeah, I think it's just the nature of the game. When you're 1-up or you need a goal, Fulham were completely dominating the game. You just knew what would happen now. Fulham would end up on the edge of the box and Manchester United would start playing again. It's just, listen, why it happens I don't know, but it happens in every game of football like that.
Where'd the goal come from then?
Well, it comes from Bruno Fernandes. I mean, the goal scored by Sesko, and it's a great moment for him, but who's at the heart of it again? Dummy's brilliant from Fernandes. He can't really cope with Bassi physically, but he too clever for him. And then you just look in the middle here with Sesko, finds himself with space, and the great thing is, maybe better people than me and strikers will say, the goals don't move. He never really looks at all at the situation. But just keep an eye on Bruno Fernandes. The ball comes into him. He knows the defender's coming. He can scan just slightly over his right shoulder, and he knows he's got to get this crossing quickly, because Bassi physically will get back at him. He has to cross it now. He can't take it on. He'll come back. And as this ball comes in, obviously the defenders are a little bit footed.
Good first touch.
Yeah. He puts it there, but look at it. He doesn't look at all. And it's a brilliant finish. And listen, it's been really difficult for him. And it's been difficult for Hoyland before him, a young striker coming in
I don't know if you think this is relevant, Jamie. He scored 2 in 17 under Ruben Amorim this season, and now 4 in 4 since Amorim left. What can we read into that?
Well, I wouldn't use that as a stick to beat Ruben Amorim with, to be honest. He's a young player. He's improving as it goes on. Listen, he was fantastic at Burnley. And I asked Michael Carrick a question before the game. Why did you go with Brian Mbeumo in the first sort of 3 games as the centre forward? Notoriously, you'd think of him as a right winger, and you'd maybe play Sesko through the middle or Cunha. You went with Mbeumo. But he's probably a little bit disappointed with that. He's just starting to kick on, obviously the Burnley game, and now he's found himself on the bench again. But it's now looking like he's involved. That will do him the world of good. Listen, I'm a Liverpool man. Did I want Manchester United to score the winning goal? Of course not. But when you see young players come into the Premier League and you watch them struggle away from home, probably haven't got the network or the family around them, it'll be torture for him in these first few months at Manchester United, one of the biggest clubs in the world. So forget that moment for him will be the biggest moment of the season. And hopefully for him, it's still not over.
Yeah, 100%.
Jamie Carragher absolutely nailed the balance of this performance. This wasn't a classic Manchester United display in terms of control or dominance. It was about structure, moments, and mentality. What Carragher highlighted brilliantly was how Carrick set United up differently. That narrow front three was key. Instead of hugging touchlines, United kept Bruno, Garnacho, and Kuhn tight and interchangeable. That compactness created overloads between the lines and made Fulham's defensive shape uncomfortable all game. It wasn't pretty, but it was purposeful. Carragher also made an important point about Casemiro's resurgence. This wasn't nostalgia, this was impact. Set pieces, positioning, leadership. His threat at dead balls has been one of United's most reliable weapons this season, and Carragher was right to call that out. He's finishing his United spell on his own terms, not fading quietly. The big takeaway, though, was Bruno Fernandes. Carragher kept coming back to him, and rightly so. The dummy for the winner, the scanning, the speed of decision-making, that's elite football intelligence. Bruno didn't need to score to define this match. He controlled the chaos. And then there's Benjamin Šeško. Carragher didn't overhype him. He contextualized him. Young striker, new league, huge pressure. But that finish? Calm, instinctive, striker's finish. Carragher made the key point. Confidence changes everything. This goal doesn't mean he's the answer, but it means he's part of the solution. Finally, Carragher was spot on about the bigger picture. This wasn't a perfect performance. Fulham deserved something, but United kept attacking, even after conceding. That's the difference. Under Carrick, United aren't protecting leads, they're chasing games. That's not just tactics, that's mentality shift, and Carragher saw it clearly.